We are in an election year, and of course, all of us are looking at who's going to be the next president of this country. But I think the critical part for me, and if I was to even advise our incoming presidents, I think the thing that we really need to look at as a country, and of course as leadership, one is Uhuru did a very good job, and he's done a good job in the infrastructure. He has done an extremely good job. But of course, one of the biggest challenges we're facing right now in our country, we have a blooming debt. The debt burden for us is going to be crazy. So I would like to hear from Honorable Raila Odinga or Ruto or Honorable Ruto on how they're going to be able to help us be able to pay our debt, especially because we're going to become a slave to China. So what is he going to do about the issue of debt in this country, which is a big problem? Another thing I would like to hear from them is one, we have a big problem. We are net importers. You can imagine in 2019, Kenya imported $20 billion in terms of things things that were important to the country. We only exported 11.5 billion. So there's a very big gap. That means at every one point we are always paying out money to foreigners and not getting money in. So what is their plan to be able to bridge that gap for export, to bridge that gap from becoming a net importer to a country becoming a net exporter? Because we need to be able to grow our economy, and the only way to grow our economy, like now what is happening in China and the US, they supply a lot to the nations of the world. And at any one point when I'm having discussions with foreigners, and the only thing they ask, what does Kenya produce? What do we export? And the only thing I know and I remember in my mind is that we do tea, tea and flowers. That's what we export most of the time. So how will the government create an environment for us to be able to encourage private sector to be able to do more export? I mean, the issue of value add. I think issues of creating an economic zone, export processing zone for Kenyans, and to encourage Kenyans to do more of value add. We know that's the other thing, and then the other thing is Kenya is an agricultural country. So, what is your plan to be able to create an environment? I know government will not do the work; it's just creating the environment for us private sector to be able now to go into the whether it's the banana industry, whether it's in the vegetables, we value add so that we export more of the agriculture product rather than exporting raw materials. We value add. So what environment are they going to create for us Kenyans to be able to venture? Because Kenyans are very enterprising. I mean, if you look at like now Congo, Kenyans are already in Congo, Kenya is already in Ethiopia, Kenyans are already in Uganda, they are already in Tanzania. So we have a capacity to grow if the government creates an environment for us people to be able to do work. So because we are crazy about doing business, and so they need to create an environment. Now, the other thing I'd like to hear from our presidents is one, how are they going to create employment for our youth? Today, like even when the issue of Boda Boda came through, and we realized that motorbikes cannot enter the city center, we ask a cyclist to apply. Do you know we have a list of about 50 to 60 cyclists who are looking for jobs which are unavailable? I saw a clip of somebody who was saying there's a job for a waiter. Applied for a job for a waiter, and they got a whole line of people going to apply for a job waiter. So there's a serious problem of unemployment in this country. So what is their strategy on how to reduce employment? I know Kibaki, and I remember Kibaki very well. And one of the things he did is that he had a focus of creating 500,000 jobs per year for the youth. What is their plan in doing that, to creating employment for the youth? There have to be a tangible strategy on doing that. And then another thing I'd like to hear from the two of them is to see what about technology. I mean, we know that the countries that are growing, doing extremely well, are focusing more on technology. We know that Kenyans are very good. We are very good guys who are coming out from campus who are very good in tech. Of course, they are not where the Chinese and the Americans are, but you can create an environment for them to be able to thrive. Like for example, we have great IT projects that are right now in this country, and banks are the last people to support IT projects. Why? Because one of the things that we know, and in IT, you cannot be able to get a loan from the bank to to generate a technology, because technology takes time to grow. I mean, even the issues of research and building, it takes like maybe a year or 2 or 3 before it comes to fruition or becomes a product. Because in fact, before it becomes an MVP, there is a lot of work to be done, and we need to be able to put more money into private equity, and the government needs to be able to give grants to youth so they can be able to develop projects. People like Elon Musk have been supported greatly by their governments. People like Facebook, they are not supported by government, but they're supported by equity partners. Now, we have a very big fund, we have a very big fund of pension that is still in the country, and that pension sits in banks doing nothing. Yeah, what would be their strategy for them to be able to generate a bit of that pension to be able to private sector to be able to develop, because government will not develop anyway. Yeah. So, and the other thing, so technology is key. We have an educated lot in this country. We are churning out very many youth from the university. Where are we going to give them an environment for them to be able to be more creative, and hence be able to start exporting technology out of the country. Right now, whether it's fitness projects, whether it's reading projects, we get a lot of, I mean, Google is taking a lot of money from us. So is Facebook. So is especially those two, Google and Facebook, are taking a lot from us, and a lot of technology companies are taking a lot of money from us, because we are eating into their content. So government needs to create an environment for us to be able to thrive. That's the thing. Don't do the business. And then the last but not least, we know that a third, like Uhuru has kept complaining, a third of the revenue that comes, a third of the expenses that are handled by government, is a third of it is corruption. So if, for example, we are a 2 trillion budget, so a third of that money goes into the pockets of people who are not working hard, but using their leadership position to take advantage of the common manage. What are they going to do that? I know it's very difficult for an African country to discuss corruption, because by nature, if you look at all that lot of our leaders, they are either involved in corruption one way or the other, or they have taken advantage of our country one way or the other. So we can't, even corruption cannot be the main issue. But for me, the critical part is, how do we reduce our debt, especially China? How do we bridge the gap for import-export? That is critical for me. I need to hear them saying that this is what they're going to do to create an environment, because government doesn't do business. It's create an environment for us to do that. How are you going to create employment for the youth? Yeah. And how are we going to use technology to grow our country? Yeah. I know, like now today, if you look at the company that's doing very well in this country is Safaricom, because they've used technology to be able to bring Kenyans together. And even now in the elections, Safaricom is going to be used for electioneering. Banks are depending on Safaricom for transfer of money, digital money. So what is the government going to do to create an environment? And the critical part for me is they need to fund IT projects in Kenya. They need to give grants. Give grants to technology space. Create environments where pension funds can be able to go into the research, and it's okay for research, pension funds to maybe 18% of the pension money can be able, like NSF, can go into research and to technology space, so that we can be able to grow our economy. Hence, creating employment for especially the youth, and the youth, we create employment and empower them. Eventually, what will happen is that our economy will grow. So those are the things I want to hear from these politicians. I know alignments are key, but I want to hear how you're going to be able to do that. I know Ruto has talked about giving youth money, but you're giving youth money, and how are you going to be able to make sure that money is? There has to be a structure of doing it, yeah, so that the youth can be able to grow and grow themselves and create projects that we're going to be able to help our economy. Thank you. Those are things I want to hear from politicians. Thank you, and God bless.